This is a video meant to highlight an act of plagiarism and copyright infringement. As things stand, my viewer base is extremely limited, but my hope is that this video will reach a lot of people regardless. For the people who don't know me, I'm Mr. Disorder. I write reviews and make commentated gameplay videos for the purpose of comedy. My latest such video is the first part in a series where a friend of mine, known as Cyril, plays the 2003 video game Drakengard. In this video, I use two songs in particular, Tell Me Why by Pen Pals and Waiting So Long by Silver Fins. These works were respectively used as the opening and ending themes for the 1997 anime adaptation of the manga Berserk. Since these are not my works and I have no means with which to obtain permission to use them, it is perfectly reasonable, within the standards of copyright law that YouTube enforces, that these bands or their labels would lay a claim and acquire revenue from this video. I am perfectly willing to lose out on monetization for the sake of using this material. However, Pen Pals and Silver Fins rank among a plethora of bands whose copyright is not actively enforced on YouTube, meaning that creators are free to use them until the bands or their labels decide to use the website's Content ID system to protect their copyright. So, where's the problem? My Drakengard video had received a copyright claim as a result of the use of Waiting So Long. In fact, another more popular video upload of this song had been subjected to a claim as well. However, the claim was not officially for Waiting So Long. It was for a song titled Interlude by an act called Euphonic. Euphonic is a French rapper and producer. If you look at his website or his Spotify, you will see he has released albums as recently as 2021. One of them, suspiciously titled Berserk, contains a song called Interlude. In the past, there have been cases where videos would get a claim for using a song when they only used a recording that was sampled in that song. With that said, a cursory listen will reveal that Euphonic did not merely sample Waiting So Long. This is the shortened edit used in the 1997 Berserk anime, in full, without a single change. This is more egregious than the unofficial uploads of Waiting So Long you will see on YouTube, because Euphonic does not credit Silver Fins at all. Their name is not listed on the automatically generated YouTube video, nor are they credited on his website, where he has this album listed for sale digitally and in CD form. There is no room to interpret this as sampling or recontextualizing. Euphonic has taken someone else's song and claimed it as his own. This is plagiarism. Euphonic is selling an album that contains unedited, copyrighted material which he visibly does not have the permission to use. The party most likely to possess and enforce the song's copyright is VAP, a Japanese company that owns the rights to the Berserk anime, as well as the music recorded by Pen Pals and Silver Fins. If Euphonic did have the permission to use this song, why would VAP not insist that they and Silver Fins be credited, something that is standard practice in almost every single other case where copyrighted material is used in a piece of media? Furthermore, what kind of label would knowingly enforce the copyright of a song that infringes on copyright law? This brings us to the other name in this claim, Addictive Music. They are a French label who offer artists the means with which to distribute their music digitally and track analytics across the various platforms containing their material. Incidentally, they also offer to reorganize their YouTube channel so as to optimize monetization and, most critically, ensure the protection of their copyright. They seem to be a small record label. They are certainly not the size of VAP, who, I want to note, are a subsidiary of Nippon Television Holdings Incorporated, which itself is one of the holdings of the Yomiuri Shimbun Group, who are in charge of one of Japan's leading newspapers. I feel the need to mention this because copyright law as it is today was not made to handle millions of people who all use this copyrighted material. It's the same reason why a lot of people continue to pirate movies or video games even after receiving warnings from their internet service provider. If you're a random person illegally downloading copyrighted material or uploading it on YouTube, it's generally not worth the effort for the copyright holder to go the whole mile in prosecuting you. This is the advantage to having low public visibility, and I'm inclined to believe that small record labels benefit from this as well. The main difference is that, unlike the lay user, a label can actively take advantage of Content ID to lay claim to a song that doesn't belong to them and thus unrightfully make revenue that belongs either to video creators or the actual owners of the song. Now, there are two possible scenarios, but one seems more likely than the other. The first one is that Addictive Music accepted to bring Euphonic on board, perfectly aware that Interlude is direct plagiarism that infringes the copyright of VAP and Silver Fins. This would open them up to legal issues that a larger label would generally avoid like the plague, so I somewhat doubt that a small one would have the guts to pull this kind of stunt intentionally. The second and more likely scenario is that Addictive Music brought Euphonic into their fold without being informed and without properly verifying his material. The listed release date of Berserk on Spotify is 2018, but it was actually first published independently in 2015. Therefore, it's possible that it had already been self-published for a couple of years by the time he got signed, which would have made it more likely for this plagiarism to have slipped by unnoticed. On a side note, it does not help Euphonic's case that he has visibly hidden two videos that were originally on this playlist, the intro track, as well as Interlude. Considering all the other videos have open comments, it makes me wonder if people had already pointed out this plagiarism in the past. Furthermore, out of curiosity, I decided to take a closer look at the rest of the album, and I found something interesting. The last track, Zone d'Ombre, contains a musical sample that sounds an awful lot like a song from Silent Hill 4. Do you believe that Euphonic got permission from Akira Yamaoka and Konami to use that in his song? Probably not, because he doesn't credit them either. What I believe happened is that Euphonic came in contact with Addictive Music so as to benefit from their services and give greater visibility to his music. The label then proceeded to publish his works on the usual streaming websites, manage his YouTube channel, and enforce his copyright without verifying that he actually had the copyright to all of his music. Euphonic, who would be aware that Interlude in particular infringes all copyright law, would have remained silent about it so as to avoid trouble. Now, the thing about this is that hip-hop remains, all in all, a sample-heavy genre. Having done a cursory overview of multiple of his albums, I was only able to identify Waiting So Long and Your Reign, but you can easily find comments on his other videos mentioning other movies and TV shows getting sampled. My assumption is that, since he and his label are pretty small in the grand scheme of things, he isn't especially concerned about being transparent with every sample he uses. I can't blame him or the label for taking a don't ask, don't tell approach on this, because a lot of people do make a living using unauthorized samples, and they mostly get by because they're small independent acts. However, I draw the line at lifting a song wholesale, giving zero credit to the original artist, and actively profiting from it. If Euphonic had simply removed Interlude by the time he got signed and started officially selling CDs of Berserk, I would not be here making this video. He absolutely deserves to be held accountable for this. Now that I have explained the situation, I want to point out that Addictive Music can be contacted via email. For the sake of it, I've sent them a message highlighting everything I've discussed so far. It's been a couple of days since I've sent it, and I haven't gotten any response. Maybe they're busy, but I wouldn't put it past them to simply ignore my email. I may have made my case in this video, but this is a problem I can't possibly resolve by myself. I personally have no authority to enforce Silver Fins' copyright, so a label isn't suddenly going to take the problem seriously just because a random YouTuber decided to play the Good Samaritan. Consequently, I need your help. I want you, first and foremost, to share this video as much as you can with anyone who cares about Berserk or anyone who has an interest in preventing blatant plagiarism. There is practically no chance the problem will solve itself if no one knows or cares about it, so raising awareness is an essential first step. After that, you should contact Addictive Music yourselves, preferably in French, regarding this problem, using the information that I have found as well as anything you may discover yourselves. It could be useful to find other cases of uncredited samples, but the lack of attribution aside, the use of songs such as Your Rain is much more easily excused. Interlude is unabashed plagiarism, and that should be the focus of those messages. Furthermore, if you are within means of contacting someone on YouTube who will actually do something about this abuse of the Content ID system, do not hesitate to do so. If you're so inclined, you could also try to reach out to the relevant parties at VAP Incorporated, or even Konami, but this is a small-scale problem that huge companies are not likely to care about. Again, tons of people regularly infringe copyright in some capacity. It's worth trying to get in touch with them, but the most likely parties to act are Addictive Music and YouTube, and it's already hard enough reaching out to an actual YouTube employee. I do want to stress that your communications should be civil and polite, and that you should absolutely refrain from harassing Euphonic or anyone associated with Addictive Music. Without any information from either of those parties, we should not assume that this happened as a result of malice rather than negligence and complacency. Nevertheless, it is clear that plagiarism is taking place, and that Euphonic and the label have directly profited from other people's material without permission, which would be an infringement of copyright law. Remember that this can affect YouTube creators even more than the actual copyright holders. With the current system, people can knowingly or unknowingly claim monetization revenue from copyrighted material that does not belong to them and is not actively protected by YouTube's Content ID system. If your video is going to get demonetized, the money should go to the actual owners. Taking advantage of material whose copyright is not enforced is an abuse of this system and must be addressed as such.